and experience the life-changing peace he offers. Join Joyce on this journey to overcome anxiety and discover how you can have a God-centered, peace-filled life you enjoy every day. We at KKVV have a chance for you to win. 25 winners will receive a copy of The Answer to Anxiety. To enter, call the station at 702-731-5588 or pick up your copy of The Answer to Anxiety today. Available wherever books are sold.
Welcome to Fight for Life, a pro-life radio show discussing the ministry of First Choice Pregnancy Services here in Las Vegas. I'm Deborah, board member and executive director of First Choice Pregnancy Services.
And I'm Jessica, logistics specialist at First Choice Pregnancy Services.
We are ambassadors for the unborn. Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, Fight for Life friends. Thanks for joining us today. This is Jess and Celeste, your ambassadors on behalf of the unborn babies everywhere, and we're here to share insights and real-life stories of what we've experienced in this fight for life.
We are kicking off today our broadcast with weekly updates so you can stay connected to the First Choice Ministry and how many lives are affected by your support. From March 2nd to March 8th, First Choice provided 71 pregnancy tests and 42 ultrasounds to our clients. The patients that we serve are mainly abortion bound, but we serve many women from all walks of life. And important to reach them with our free services and speak up for their defenseless child. If you'd like to join the conversation or if you're interested in sponsoring this radio show, call the radio station at 702-650-5588.
Today's guest, we have back Lorena with My Children's Advocate. She is an activist here in Las Vegas that moved here from LA 5 years ago. Welcome back, Lorena.
Thank you. Glad to be here again. Thanks for having me.
I'm not sure if we talked about it last time, but did we talk about how you got involved in politics out here?
Yeah, I briefly went over the fact that we were at home getting ready to send our kids back to school after the 2020 lockdowns, and then they implemented the mask mandate. And we started researching through the board meetings that the sex ed committee was very extreme, very radical, and so many things were against what we wanted to teach our kids. So we kind of took a step back from getting our kids really into school. We just didn't feel like we could get our kids to sit in the classroom while we were finding out that there was so much exposure going on with liberal teachers. So, and the liberal propaganda that they were being exposed to in schools. So we started homeschooling, and that's kind of how we started getting together.
Wow, that's awesome. And now you have a legacy of all the political work that you've already been involved in. And actually, I'm going to allow you to talk about something that we need our listeners to plug into and start making calls right now.
Yes, so our legislation is in session right now. It's only 4 months. And I really hope we all realize that if we engage ourselves and take the time to make a phone call, write an email, do something. These bills are being considered. They're being debated on open forum. So we have the ability to call in and speak our mind and persuade our politicians. It matters so much that we take the time, 20, 30 minutes. And so the bills that are being heard right now, actually today at 1 o'clock is 175, AB 175, which is Assembly Bill 175, and SB 172, which is Senate Bill 172. 175 is takes the voters' rights to appoint school board members and trustees. So that's very alarming. It hits us home directly because we want to be able to decide who's going to be in charge of our school board curriculum, who's going to be approving the material, implementing the policies. They're taking that right away from us. So very alarming, very crucial that we speak up. That's AB 175. SB 172 would allow minors to consent to medical treatment without parental consent. So it's another one of those lowering age of consent that Democrats keep pushing through. So as parents, we need to speak up.
And that would be any medical procedure they could go get?
Right now, I believe it's birth control pills. It's hormones. What else is it? So the age of consent is restricting parental rights as far as them receiving any type of like I said, birth control
Wow.
or even abortions, or parents don't have to sign off on it.
Okay. So how can our listeners call in, or can they go in person today, or?
They can. It's actually happening right now on Grant Sawyer Building, which is located 555 East Washington Avenue, at Suite 5100. And for further instructions, we do have it on My Children's Advocate, on our Instagram, on our Facebook. All the instructions are laid out. The phone calls, the numbers you have to dial, the member ID to join the Zoom meeting, the emails that you can send. It's all there. So please just take the time to call in or go in person. It's happening right now.
One
Can
thing
they call in?
Yes, they can call in.
What's the phone number? Do you know?
Yeah, it is listed here. Try not to tap.
Okay.
The phone number directly is it's a long number. So it's 1-888. Sorry, I'm swiping through it. 888-475-4499. And the meeting ID number is 857-3831-9791. And you press pound to get in the queue. And when they instruct you to press #6, you raise your hand, and then they call on you, and you're there speaking to the legislators in person.
Wow. Can you give that one more time?
Sure. The phone number to call is 1-888-475-4499. The meeting ID number, it's going to prompt you. It's 857-3831-9791. And then you press pound when it asks for, I believe, a participant ID. So just pound and you're already in.
Well, and one thing to add too, if you just at this point, just because we're, at a time crunch, it's going to be coming 1 o'clock here pretty soon. But you can always call and just say ditto to the opposing,
Right.
to the opposing side. So don't let that intimidate you. Don't
You literally just call and say ditto.
I agree. Yeah, I ditto, and I agree with all of the other opposing arguments. So that's what they say. You can just say ditto.
Right.
Because
And
that would be, you would be another person who is opposing it. So that's what they see.
So they take into account the number of people that are calling in favor, in opposition.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to at least make the phone call, submit the email or a letter, just anything.
Wow. I feel like I'm getting empowered just
Yes.
being here with you ladies with
I'm
all
getting
this
on the call.
knowledge.
Exactly. And, one thing that's going on with these bills it's becoming more noticeable that each and every bill, they're taking the parental rights away slowly, and they're just doing it a very, creeping in. Every bill, you can see that there's more parental rights being taken away and more parental rights being taken away. Right now, the state of Nevada, our parental consent is at, a child doesn't have parental consent at the age of 9, and they do that specifically because guess what? Puberty hits at the age of 9 for girls.
Wow.
They are able to. That is an age that actually a child, a little girl, can conceive essentially because they've gone through puberty. Age 9 is not just coincidental.
Yeah. I want to say our youngest patient at First Choice was 10 years old.
Yeah.
That's heartbreaking
Yeah.
to see that children can have access to, and this is what these Democrat bills always do. They sponsor these bills to push for consent, lowering the age of consent, restricting parental rights. And who else calls in to fight for this if not parents?
Right.
So if we're not getting on the call, if we're not showing up in person, pushing back, it's going to go through.
Wow.
Right. And that's something that we need to also contact our Republican representatives,
Right.
because we know that there's Republican representatives that are compromising, and they are going, we want to make sure, do not give in to this agenda that's going on.
It's so important that we have the numbers, that we speak up, that we no longer have that complacency, which is why we've been defeated continuously. Our conservative voices have been put out because we're complacent.
Wow.
We're not as loud, we're not as active. And I think if we don't get it by now, what else are we waiting to see?
Wow.
Yeah.
So can you only call in one time?
You can, and when they call on you, if for whatever reason you weren't able to speak up or you were busy, hang up, get another phone, which is what I happened to do one time, grab my son's phone, call through there, because apparently your phone is already registered, your number, so they won't call on you twice. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that's happening. As soon as I get out of here, I'm going to get on the phones and
Okay.
speak up on these two bills. Again, that's on our Instagram. It's all laid out on our Facebook, My Children's Advocate.
Wow, that's awesome.
Thank you.
I know you wanted to talk about some things last week that we weren't able to quite get to. So let's circle back to some of those topics. I know that something that's very important to you is the sex ed that's going on in our public schooling. You want to talk about that real quick?
Right. Yes, I do. Because one of the main reasons that we've been losing as far as our getting our point across and having more weight on our issues being heard is that we don't have the numbers. When we show up at a school board meeting, we're outnumbered. They're all sitting there, same teachers, very liberal, very radical in their views, but they keep influencing the school board they persuade them. So we're trying, it's always been our mission to get parents involved and engaged. And there was actually 2 examples of parents that did just that and were successful at it. So, and it happened in California. So if it can happen in California, it can happen here.
Definitely.
One of those was Oceanside Unified School District. Back in 2018, they fought Advocates for Youth, which is exactly the curriculum that CCSD is using for the sex ed. And they were able to get it taken out of the school completely. So
Wow.
some of the very extreme things they teach, for example, and this was K through 5th grade, taught middle school students that mutual masturbation posed no risk of STDs. So they push for that type of behavior in kids.
Kindergarten
Masturbation,
through
yes.
5th grade?
Yes. K
This
through
is what's being taught?
This is an agenda. It's an agenda.
Yep. And they successfully fought it. They showed up. That's basically what it takes. Show up and speak directly to these trustees, to these representatives. Email, just get loud, get engaged. And I don't mean unruly necessarily, but speak up. Just don't quietly watch this happen without doing anything about it. Another thing that happened in April of just last year, Republican lawmakers in the state of New Jersey advocated against, again, Advocates for Youth, the same curriculum, to develop a new learning curriculum against their 3 R's. So their 3 R's, they call rights, respect, and responsibility, and it pushes for activism. If you go on Advocates for Youth, you will be shocked. They are basically training and brainwashing these kids to become activists. So it's not really
And
about
not
education.
Activism for a bad agenda, not
Right.
a good agenda.
Very radical liberal agenda. So rights, respect, and responsibility, when sex ed should be a responsibility. We all advocate for that. We agree on that. But the rights and respect is where they bring in the activism. What are your rights? Your pro-choice, your right to this medication, and your rights to even, what we're seeing now, the chemical pill, abortion pills. So they came up with their own 3 R's, which were repealing standards, replace diversity education, and restore parental control over curriculum to give parental rights back in education. So they successfully did this in New Jersey, and Republicans came up with their own 3 R's just to oppose Advocates for Youth. So it's that alarming.
Wow. These, when you're talking, I was just thinking, this is such a disturbing agenda, and how we are seeing these things that you were talking about, what's happening to our children. And it is from the bowels of Satan himself. This is from the bowels of Hades. This is such a hate that is going on in this agenda for our children. It's
Perverse.
It's so much perversion.
I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind around it. I mean, I know wicked things like this are going on, but kindergarten through 5th grade, and this that's obscene.
Yes.
Completely unacceptable. So let me ask you, those same things that they fought for in Oceanside and what was the other
New
one?
Jersey.
New Jersey. And you said it's the same curriculum that's here in Las Vegas or here in Nevada. Are those same things being taught in Nevada?
Yes.
The masturbation thing?
Yes, we have been present at the sex ed committees, and one of the issues that came up, they had one of their lessons was about role playing. It actually made the news that a teacher got one of the students up and two students, a girl and a boy, and had them kind of role play. And this is really happening. And when it came up on the agenda, we were there. We were present, but I kid you not, we were a handful of maybe 5 parents, 3 of us from My Children's Advocate. And one of our moms works full-time, gets off at 5, and rushed over to the school board meeting to meet us there. And, it's kind of sad when you look around and we're just not getting the message through that parents need to show up and say, no, no, I don't want this. We're paying for this, and I don't approve of this.
Right.
So
just like we're paying for abortions, and we don't approve of that either.
Right.
So let me ask you, if your child is in a private school or homeschooled, can you still have a voice? Can you still show up to these?
Well, yes, absolutely. Because what if in the future you do want to put your kids back in school? What if you're in the process of wanting to see some progress in the school board? If maybe they're taking your voice into consideration, and then because I, for myself, can say that with teenagers, I don't feel that I have the home environment for that high school can offer. So I do want my kids to have a high school experience, but at the same time, I'm trying to actively engage some kind of change, and I think every parent has to want that for their child. If you're seeing things go south and so corrupted in society right now, if you want change, you have to speak up.
Absolutely. And I think this is also to the parents. I'm not a parent, but this is the importance of raising your child up and in the Word, in the
Amen.
Knowing, having a relationship with the Lord, so they can discern what is evil and what is good. Because right now it's so overwhelming that we are to show the child, like, look, this is sin, and this is a product of sin, and this whole world is a fallen world, and that's what we live in. But you are different. You have a relationship with the Lord, and but that's why it's so important to parent the child in a godly manner, because otherwise your child is going to fall victim of this horrible agenda and everything that we've been talking about right now.
And they end up losing their soul. It is the end solution the end result to all this is that their soul is lost, and we're trying to fight for the soul of our babies. Mm-hmm. So one of our posts, we had posted about Calvary Red Rock. We had posted about Fervent in Las Vegas. It was also a Calvary Chapel Church before, but they have programs directed towards youth. And the best thing you can do for your child right now is give them that knowledge of God.
Absolutely.
And teach them the Word.
Like what kind of programs? Because I know a lot of churches have a youth group.
Yeah, so there's this Youth Rock on Tuesdays. On Wednesdays, they also ferventlv.org, but it's just Fervent. Mm-hmm. And they also have another youth group on Wednesday evenings. So there's so many options for us parents here in the community, to local churches that offer these youth programs to attend and take our children with us.
And I'll plug my church as well. You can find out more about the youth group that Liberty Baptist Church offers through experienceliberty.com. And you might as well plug yours as well.
Green Valley has an excellent youth program. It's called Summit. And so I'll make sure to plug that into the comments, or if the listeners can go to any one of these churches' websites, it's right there.
And Green Valley Baptist, excuse me, they also offer a young mothers group, and that's something that's not necessarily all churches offer that. Can you plug young mothers? That's okay. I know it's through Melly Anderson, so if you call Green Valley Baptist Church, that they can point you in the right direction for that. So with all this being said, You talked about how we can help stop this to protect our children. Is there anything else that we can be doing to help counteract? Like she was saying, just staying in the Word and growing or raising our children with the foundation of Christ.
Mm-hmm. So I always personally like to, when my kids are in the car, I sometimes play videos of Charlie Kirk, Turning Point, PragerU. Just expose your kids to another viewpoint, because they're constantly being fed a narrative. So it's up to us to also, YouTube actually does have children's videos that are biblical stories, the Tuttle Twins. So I have my younger two, the 6 and 8 year old, watching those type of cartoons and videos. So it's just constantly trying to counteract what the left is pushing for our kids.
It's so crazy to me because just last night I had the honor of teaching a Bible study class in a single moms group at our church last night, and the topic was protecting your children from predators. And here I'm listening to all this happening and the material that I went over last night, and it's like one of the things that you need to look out for are people that might be grooming your child. Well, here it is happening in our own public school at a very young age, and so these children see their parents dropping them off at a school, and so they automatically think that the parents are approving of what is being taught in that school, and they're grooming your child.
They are, and I think there's been such a turn into the sexualization of children because the LGBT started the movement where now they went from proposing that they get equality to now demanding that we teach the way they decide that children should be taught. And everyone's just succumbing to just agreeing to it. So
wow.
It's hard to understand where this is coming from. The only thing I think as parents we can do is every election cycle, look for the conservatives in your area, your representatives. Look at their viewpoints and do your research, because it's so easy to get lost in the ads and the flyers.
Yes.
And it's usually the ones that are least funded that have the most conservative ideals. So do your research and vote responsibly.
Amen. So tell our listeners how they can get in contact with you.
We're at mychildren'sadvocate.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook, My Children's Advocate, DM us, My Children's Advocate at Proton Mail also. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming out today.
You're very welcome.
Happy birthday to you as well.
Thank you. It's a blessing for me to be able to speak on with women that are fighting for life.
Amen.
And on my birthday, it just means a lot to me. So
Amen.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I do want to mention Christy Hockle Davenport and her beautiful mother, Jody, will be on the air with us on Thursday, March 23rd. That is the Thursday directly in front of our March for Life. You'll be able to join in on that conversation, 12:30 on Thursday. You don't want to miss it. They have phenomenal story. They have just an amazing message in general. And actually, Christy Hockle Davenport is going to be our speaker for the March for Life rally. And so you can actually register for that right now, fcpsfriends.org. And then after you finish registering for that, make sure you go and call. What's the phone number again?
888. Give me a second.
Okay.
I should have memorized it by now.
We'll go back to that.
It's
Go ahead.
That's 1-888-475-4499. The meeting ID is 857-3819-791.
Okay. And then what are the bills they're protesting?
Bill 172 they want to lower the age of consent for kids to just go in and get medication. And AB 175 that they're trying to appoint school board members as opposed to us parents of voting for them.
Okay, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So going back to our march, there's going to be awesome prizes and raffles. And so we ask that you go onto our social media, that you share about our march with your friends and your family, that you rally your group together, that you make your own signs and get excited about this event. Go collect sponsorships, because we are doing some awesome prizes, and you could be entered to win that. It just depends on how much you get sponsored for, I guess. So
It'll be a good time. It'll be a fun time.
It truly will be. We have all kinds of games for kids and a huge inflatable obstacle course that we have lined up.
I'm taking all my kids.
Yes, great. Good.
Yes.
Bring your families, bring anybody from work, from anybody that you know, your neighbor, bring them all.
We just are so incredibly grateful for the pro-life community in Las Vegas, but we want more people to show up, be the voice for the voiceless, those that cannot speak for themselves. You need to be their voice for them. So we thank you so much for listening today. We encourage you to give First Choice a call or come down for a tour. You can, again, register at fcpsfriends.org. Have a blessed week, everyone. Thanks for joining your ambassadors for the unborn on the Fight for Life radio, today and every Thursday on KKVV 1060 AM, the best news radio, the gospel airship.
If you'd like to support the cause of saving unborn babies, or if you have a question you'd like us to answer on the air, go to fcpsfriends.org or call us at 702-294-CARE. Again, that number is 702-294-2273.
On behalf of his little ones, thank you and God bless.